The bride ran away after discovering the groom was her long-lost biological brother. Sounds like a sensational tabloid headline? I wish it were just a movie script. But that was the truth I was forced to face. Our love felt like it was written by fate, but fate isn't always beautiful. And in that fateful moment, with the wedding music playing, petals falling on cold tiles, and everyone's eyes on me, I knew I had to choose between love and the truth. Sometimes it's a cruel joke, orchestrated by secrets adults have tried to bury for decades. Now, if you're ready to dive into a heartbreaking, shocking, and unimaginable journey, let's go back to where it all began, where everything seemed perfect, until the truth was revealed, layer by layer, like a veil lifted on that fateful wedding day. I used to believe I was the luckiest woman in the world. At 27, I had a stable job, a perfect man who proposed under the sunset on a California beach, and a wedding being planned that everyone called a fairy tale. My name is Isabella Myers, but you can call me Bella like my loved ones do. My story isn't a fairy tale. It started that way, then twisted into a nightmare I still don't know whether to laugh at for surviving or cry over for losing myself. Jason, the man I was about to marry, came into my life like a promise. Warm, calm, kind. The kind of man you'd introduce to your mom after the first date. The kind who holds your hand at a funeral without saying a word, because his presence alone tells you you're not alone. We met at a finance seminar in 2020. In a cold, dry crowd, he was the first to offer me a cup of hot coffee and ask my name with a glint in his eye as if he already knew me. Slowly, Jason became my safe place after long work days, the one I shared childhood dreams with, the shoulder I leaned on when I was exhausted. He was family, when I had no family. My father left before I could call him Dad. My mother never said much about him, just that he chose a different path, that some people don't deserve to be called father. I used to resent him, but growing up, I accepted that emptiness as a normal part of me. Until Jason came along. He filled the void my father left. He was everything I thought a man should be. And then, the wedding. We chose a small, quaint church in Napa Valley where the afternoon light streamed through stained glass, casting warm colors. Everything was prepared carefully. The dress was finished. The vows I wrote a month ago were hidden in the left pocket of my dress, close to my heart. 3 days before the wedding, an unexpected phone call from a strange woman shattered everything. "Are you Isabella Myers?" Her voice trembled. "My name is Margaret. I'm the ex-wife of Thomas Grant." I didn't understand. Thomas Grant? He had a daughter who went missing. He always believed she was still alive. And I think you might be that child. I nearly threw the phone. A joke? A last-minute scam? You've got the wrong person. No, I have photos. I have proof. Please, just hear me out before you get married. 2 days later, I took a DNA test. I didn't tell Jason, didn't tell anyone. I went to the lab alone, signed the papers myself, submitted hair and blood samples, and waited. My heart had never pounded so hard. I didn't even know what I was afraid of. What did I have to lose? The answer came the morning of the wedding, an email. Result: probability of biological relationship 99.98%. Thomas Grant is the biological father of Isabella Myers. I was paralyzed. Jason was Thomas Grant's son. Thomas Grant was my biological father. Jason was my half-brother. I had loved, gotten engaged to, slept with, and was about to marry someone who shared my blood. I stood in the dressing room, clutching my wedding dress so tightly that my nails dug into the white lace. Someone knocked. "Is the bride ready?" I didn't know what to do. This was my dream, my life, or was it the hell I was walking myself into? I don't remember how I left the dressing room. Everything blurred, as if I were swimming in a thick, dark dream with no exit. A long hallway, heels clicking on the wooden floor, candlelight flickering along the aisle of the chapel, where guests were already settling into their seats. I never said it because I didn't want Jason to get hurt. He grew up always thinking I was his biological father. I never did a DNA test because I was sure, but now, if he needs it, I'm ready to do it. I didn't believe him right away. I pulled out my phone and called Mom. She was silent. Then she said, "He's telling the truth." I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I ran away from the wedding. I thought my whole life was a cruel joke. I blamed Jason. I hated myself. And now, it turns out, it was all because of words that were never spoken. Jason and I are not siblings, but the pain didn't disappear. Trust died. Love cracked. There was no going back to how it was before. I looked at him, the man who used to be a ghost in my life, now sitting there, hands covering his face, eyes wet and blurry. I'm not here to forgive, I said. I'm here to cut ties. Whoever you are, I don't want you to be part of my life anymore. He looked up, mouth moving silently. I understand. I stood up, left, and then I called Jason. I needed to see him, but this time to tell the truth. All of it, even if it meant losing him forever. I stood outside the cafe where we first met. My heart felt squeezed tight. The room behind the glass seemed to swallow the afternoon light. Jason sat by the window, head down, hands gripping a coffee cup, as if holding on to the last warmth to grasp some hope. I had asked him to meet me here after everything. After the broken wedding like a bad soap opera, after Mom confessed the terrible secret, after I took the shaky DNA test, and after all, after realizing Jason was never my brother. He was my fiancé, the man I planned to spend the rest of my life with. But the truth was, our love had been shattered by a cruel, horrifying reality. I clenched my fists and opened the door. He didn't look up, but I knew he could feel me coming. I sat down opposite him. We were silent, as if even a sharp breath could shatter the fragile thing between us. Finally, he spoke first. His voice hoarse, unlike the Jason I knew before. Are you okay? I nodded. A lie. I was not okay. I was a mess. Are you never coming back? His voice was soft, but colder than a mid-January winter. I need time to understand what's happening. I whispered. And you think I don't? He laughed, but it was a harsh laugh, like a cutting blade. The runaway bride before the ring exchange, then vanished. No word, no message. Isabella, you made me live in hell. I looked at him. Jason, the man who was once the light in my life, now looked like he had walked through the storm I created. I took a deep breath. This was the moment. I thought, you were my brother. Jason was silent. I heard Mom say, I was born from a mistake one night. That he, the man Mom called Thomas, was my father. And then I found out he was your father too. Isabella, Jason whispered, as if each word burned his lips. I couldn't breathe, Jason. I was ready to be your wife, but after one conversation, I started to believe I was about to sleep with my own brother. I sobbed lightly. My heart pounded like a funeral drum. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm scared, nauseous. Every time you touched me, I felt disgusted. But I also hurt because I couldn't hate you. Jason raised his head. His eyes, once gentle, now looked burned. And instead of telling me you ran away, you thought I didn't deserve to know the truth? No, I just didn't want you to hurt like I did. Fine, he nodded, but you hurt me 100 times worse. I was silent. I don't care whose child you are, Isabella. When I proposed, I chose you. Not blood, not logic, just you. But I care, Jason. I thought I was a product of incest. I touched you, kissed you, planned our wedding night with someone I thought was my brother. Do you understand that feeling? I felt like a monster. He slammed his hand on the table. People's eyes turned to us. I flinched. Jason didn't care. You should have known, he said like a verdict. You should have been trusted. We both cried, in silence, in pain and despair. Jason lowered his face. Tears fell into the cold coffee cup. What did the DNA test say? I pulled the paper from my jacket pocket, placed it on the table. We are not siblings. He didn't touch the paper, just closed his eyes. But we're no longer lovers either, I said like a knife cutting myself. Silence stretched like a dead zone. I'm leaving town, I said, voice trembling. I need to start over, somewhere no one knows about that wedding, about the name Isabella, about the sick story I carry. Jason looked at me. His eyes softened for the first time, but there was no hope left. I won't stop you, but I will never forgive you for thinking I could be your brother. I stood up. My heart shattered into pieces. I walked slowly as if burying myself in an emotional grave. I reached the door. A soft voice called behind me. Isabella. I turned around. Jason stepped forward, held me tight, so tight I thought I could melt into him one last time. No matter where you go, remember, I once loved you enough to want to be the father of your child. I burst into tears, sobbing like a child. We parted. No hatred, no hope, just knowing we couldn't go on. I thought the greatest pain was discovering the truth. But no, it's the moment when the whole world knows and looks back at you like a monster. 9 days after the canceled wedding, while I was trying to hide from all eyes, I saw myself on the evening news. Not on some anonymous blog or a fake account, but on the local news channel, 6 p.m. primetime. Shocking runaway bride case. Wedding canceled minutes before ceremony over suspected blood relation between bride and groom. I choked on the sofa at the motel, my throat burning. The image of me in a white wedding dress frozen at the moment I turned to leave the aisle. Panic on my face. Tears in my eyes. Below was the headline. A heartbreaking revelation behind the veil. Bride uncovers groom could be her long-lost brother. I held the remote, trembling. Couldn't turn it off. My eyes glued to the screen. The reporter continued. According to an anonymous source, the bride, Isabella, is said to be the daughter of a man who had a relationship with her mother in the 90s. The irony is that this man is also the groom's father. The truth was revealed just hours before the wedding, after the bride received emergency DNA test results. No official confirmation from the parties involved yet, but the wedding was canceled, shocking over 200 guests and sparking waves of comments on social media. Social media. God, I had never seen my name on Twitter until that day. I opened my phone, hands shaking so badly I couldn't unlock it with my fingerprint. Messenger, 98 unread messages. Voicemail, 24 missed calls. Instagram, 1,200 mentions. Hashtag runaway bride, trending all over California. I clicked a short video with hundreds of thousands of views. They caught the moment she ran out of the aisle. Her dress tangled, her heels dropped. Someone shouted, "She's running away." A comment right below, heard she almost married her own brother, Lord. Hollywood couldn't write this script. Disgusting. They should be prosecuted. I turned off the phone and I screamed. No more silent tears, but a scream from the depths of humiliation. I used to think I could start over, that if I left Jason, kept everything secret, I could forget. But no. Now I'm not just a victim. I'm a symbol of a scandalous incest story straight out of a soap opera. Then I received a call I never expected. Isabella, it's me, Jason. His voice was hoarse, tired, yet gentle enough to make my heart ache. I stayed silent. He continued, I know you've seen everything. The news, the videos. They even dragged my mother out for interviews. They call me a monster. And you're a national joke. Why are you calling me? I asked coldly. Because I can't let you bear this alone. Because I know it's my fault. Not because of blood ties, but because I failed to protect you from this world. I sneered, though my heart bled. Jason, if you really love me, don't call again. Don't give me hope for a love that can't be saved. I can't stop loving you, Bella. And I can't be the only one carrying this disgust. I hung up. My eyes were dry. No more tears. I knew this wouldn't end with just an article or a viral video. The press started hunting down my mother. Then the hospital. Then every corner of the small life I had tried to keep private. They would dig up every mistake I'd ever made and label me with marks I could never remove. The second blow came just 2 days later. I lost my job. I received an email from HR. The reason was short, due to public pressure and the impact on the hospital's image. I was stunned. I used to be the head nurse of the neonatal unit, saved dozens of premature babies. Yet because of one mistake, which wasn't even mine, my whole life crumbled like a sandcastle before the cruel tide of public opinion. I used to think the worst thing was breaking up with someone you love. No, the worst is when society believes you don't deserve love, forgiveness, life. I was ready to end it all. That night, I stood on the Ocean View Bridge, the spot Jason and I first dated. The cold wind bit into my skin. I stepped to the edge, closed my eyes, but then, in the blurry space between life and death, I saw the face of a little girl. She had my eyes, Jason's nose, and she asked in a clear voice, Mom, are you going to leave me? I collapsed, screaming like mad. No, I had no child. But I once wished for one, with Jason. And that dream was the last whisper of the human part in me. It helped me stand up. I decided to leave America, not because I was scared, but because I wanted to start over, where no one knew the name Isabella. I changed my name, cut my hair, I rewrote my resume, and bought a ticket to Portugal, where an orphanage needed a volunteer nurse. No one waited for me there. But no one judged me either. I shed everything to be myself. From the start. When the whole world calls me a disgrace, I choose to walk away from that world and build a new definition of pride for myself. I lived in Portugal for nearly a year, with a new name, Clara Silva, a name that no longer startled me when called. No more fearful glances, no more chest tightness like a trap. I started each day with the orphan children, children with no one, yet they smiled like the morning sun. They held my hand, called me their light, and somehow I believed I was mending the broken parts of my soul. But one October day, I received a letter with no sender name, carefully slanted handwriting. Clara, if you're reading this, it means you're still alive. And if you're still alive, then I know a part of you hasn't completely died from the pain of that year. I don't apologize for loving you, but I'm sorry for not realizing sooner that love was born from tragedy. My mother passed away. Before she died, she left me something that I think you should see. If you're willing, come home. Below the letter was a round-trip ticket. Destination, California. I held the letter all night, silently. I hadn't touched Jason's name for a year. No searching for him. No writing. No mentioning. Because I thought forgetting was the only way to survive. But now I understand. It's not forgetting, but facing it that lets me live again. I returned to the U.S. on a cold, rainy night. No paparazzi. No noisy headlines. The story of the runaway bride slowly faded from social media's short memory. But for me, it remained the deepest scar inside, impossible to erase. Jason met me at the airport. He said nothing as I walked out. We just looked at each other, like strangers who had walked through hell together, now reunited in a familiar, empty city. My vision blurred. I cried, not from pain, but from a tiny hope revived. I am not the tragedy everyone told stories about. Jason held my hand, gentle, like the first time he touched me at our wedding years ago. I don't love my sister. I love you, the real you, not any other girl. I didn't answer. I didn't know if that love could start again, but at least I was no longer afraid of the truth, no longer running away. Forgiveness isn't erasing the past. It's learning to stand tall, even when the memories remain and hurt. I didn't go back to nursing. Instead, I wrote a book. My first book, The Runaway Bride, A Confession, topped the tragic memoir charts for 6 weeks straight. I didn't use the name Isabella. I signed as Clara Silva. A strange name, but now it's mine, and I'm proud of it. Some broken pieces in life can never be put back as before, but sometimes those broken pieces are the light guiding us back to ourselves. I once thought the end of a tragic love story was the end of all hope, but turns out an ending isn't always a period. Sometimes it's a pause, a breath, to learn to listen to yourself. That December, I stood in a small conference hall. Topic, Women After Deep Wounds. I didn't stand as a celebrity, a victim, or a tragic figure in the news. I stood there as a survivor. I was once a runaway bride, but really I was just a woman who ran away from a wrong wedding to marry myself on time. The room fell silent, not because my words were extraordinary, but because they understood that each of us has lost ourselves at some point, and the price of finding yourself is courage few dare to pay. Jason is still part of my life, but this time, not fate, not a tie. We keep in touch, slowly, no labels, because some loves only truly last when not forced by labels or the past. I learned that some secrets, when revealed, aren't to end a relationship, but to restart it honestly. Some wounds never fully heal, but they teach us to walk softer, kinder. Some doors close not because you're wrong, but because you deserve a different path, one with more light. A year later, I published my second book, Marrying Myself, The Journey to Becoming My Own Life Partner. No romance, no promises, just a small memoir about a woman who once thought she couldn't survive a broken wedding, but then lived and lived beautifully. I no longer fear rainy days, because I know I once fell in the worst storm and still stood up. If you've ever been betrayed, abandoned, lost yourself amid thousands of unanswered questions, please believe you are not weak. You're just in the process of becoming a version strong enough to love yourself deeply again. And hey, if you're still hurting, you will survive this pain, like I did. What do you think? If it were you, would you dare stop a wrong wedding, even when all eyes are on you? Have you ever had to let go of a relationship you thought was destiny to save yourself? Do you believe true love doesn't come from blood or past, but from choices made now? If this story touched your heart, please like so I know you're listening. Comment and share what you've been through. I read every word. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss stories that touch your heart deeply. Because here, we don't tell stories to complain. We tell stories to heal. An ending is never the end. it's just you writing a new chapter. A chapter where you hold the pen. I am Clara Silva, and I've learned to marry myself.